We grow up. Secrets of the Little People. Brownie and the New Cook. Brownie in the Cellar. There was once a frisky little brownie who was just about a foot high. He lived in a cellar. A cellar is a very queer place to live, but a brownie is always queer. He plays queer tricks. He looks queer. He lives in queer places. He does queer things. Brownies are very much like elves, and they know all the secrets that the elves know. A brownie looks like a very little old man. He is dressed in brown from head to foot. He had a brown face. He wears a high brown cap, and he is dressed in a brown suit. He is just as brown as a little brown mouse. A brownie hides most of the time. No one but the children had seen Brownie, for he knew never to come out when older people were around. The children told everyone that little Brownie left his hiding place sometimes to play with them. They told about Brownie's little brown face and brown suit and brown cap. The children said that Brownie was very old, much older than Father, and 10 times old as Grandfather. Brownie, Brownie lived inside a basket of coal in the cellar. The basket of coal was never used because Brownie lived there. Brownie thought that a coal basket was a very good place to live. He liked coal baskets. Brownie liked a supper of milk. Every night the cook put some milk back of the cellar door for Brownie's supper. The milk was always gone in the morning. Brownie comes to the kitchen. One day a new cook came to the house. She did not want to put out a bowl of milk every night. "I don't believe in brownies," said the cook. "I never saw one. I will not put out a bowl of milk for something that I never saw." So that night Brownie could not find his supper. It was really his breakfast. Brownie went to sleep in the morning and did not get up until it was night. He looked back of the cellar door, but his supper was not there. He looked all over the cellar for his bowl of milk. He could see in the dark just as well as any cat, but no supper could be found, for the new cook had not left any for him. "This will never do," said Brownie. "I cannot stand this. If no one brings my supper, I will have to go after it." In a flash, Brownie was up the stairs and in the kitchen. No one was there, though there was a fine supper on the kitchen table. "I don't believe this supper was left for me," said the Brownie. "I am not worried about that, though." The new cook was very lazy. She was so lazy that she had gone off to bed and had not put any of the supper things away. Would you like to know what was on that table? Well, I'll tell you. Milk and bread and meat. Oh, and an apple cake. There were dirty plates on the table, too, where the lazy cook had left them. "My, oh my," said Brownie. Brownie did not like this. He liked things to be clean. You might not believe it, because most of the time he stayed in a coal basket, but he did. "Well," said Brownie, "I don't think much of the new cook, but what a supper I can have now." He was so happy that he jumped about the kitchen. Then he jumped up on a chair and onto the table. Brownie jumped softly, for he did not want the cat to hear him. The cat was a big black one with 4 white paws. She was sleeping by the fire. Brownie wanted his supper, and what a supper he had! He did not stop until he had eaten everything on the table. When he could not find anything more to eat, he began jumping about on the kitchen table. Now there was a clean white tablecloth on the table. As you know, Brownie lived in a coal cellar, and each foot was black. Every time he jumped, Brownie left a black footprint on the clean white tablecloth. Brownie made as many footprints as he could. He laughed and laughed when he looked at the black footprints. Then he ran softly down the stairs to his coal basket in the cellar. When he left, the cat was still sleeping by the fire. The next morning. Early the next morning, the new cook came down to the kitchen. She began to put the supper things away, but there was no milk, or bread, or meat, or the apple cake to put away. There were just the dirty plates. "And my white tablecloth!" cried the cook. "My clean white tablecloth!" There were little black footprints all over the tablecloth. They looked like a baby's footprints. But a baby does not make such funny footprints on tables. Then the cook saw the big black cat sleeping by the fire. She looked at the queer black footprints on her clean white tablecloth. Had the black cat put the footprints on the tablecloth? "Big black cat, you did this," said the cook. "You are a bad cat." The cook ran after the cat, and the cat just flew away from the fire. The big black cat knew that Brownie had jumped up on the table, for she had not really been sleeping when he came. But the poor cat could not talk and tell her that Brownie did all that. So the big black cat just ran under the kitchen table. She stayed there all day, out of reach of the cook. The next night, the lazy cook left the supper on the table again. She left dirty plates on the table, too. The cook put the big black cat in the cellar and locked the door. "That bad cat will not jump up on my table tonight," she said. When Brownie got up that night, there was no bowl of milk for him back of the cellar door or on the cellar stairs. He looked all over the cellar, but he could not find the bowl of milk. So he had to go after his supper again. He tried to open the cellar door, but it was locked. Brownies know many secrets, and they can do things that people cannot do. So Brownie changed himself into a mouse. Then he gnawed a hole through the door. He gnawed very softly, so that the big black cat would not hear him. If the cat woke up and saw a mouse, she might eat him. After the mouse had gnawed his way through the big cellar door, he changed himself back into a brownie. Then he ran into the kitchen. On the kitchen table was a better supper than the one Brownie had the night before. The cook had had a party and had left enough supper for 3 brownies. But this one brownie could eat as much as 3 brownies, and 1 or 2 more. Such a supper Brownie had! Then Brownie made more footprints on the tablecloth and made it as dirty as he could. He jumped up and down, and he left still more footprints. Very early that morning, Brownie went back to the cellar. He changed himself into a mouse again. He ran through the hole that he had gnawed in the door and ran down the stairs. The black cat was just getting up from her sleep. She opened one eye and saw the mouse. In a flash, she was up, and she started after him. The mouse had just enough time to change himself back into a brownie before the cat caught him. How he laughed when he got his breath again. Then he went to sleep inside the basket of coal. The next morning, the cook came down to the kitchen. She started to put the supper things away. She saw no supper on the table, and again the tablecloth was covered with black footprints. She opened the cellar door. The big black cat came in, mewing. She wanted her breakfast. She was very hungry, for she had not caught that mouse. "Did you do this again, big black cat?" asked the cook. Really, the cook knew that the cat had been locked up all night, but she began to scold her just the same. A little kitchen girl came into the room. She took the cat up in her arms. "You might better scold the brownie if you can find him," she said. "Why should I?" asked the cook. "Brownie has had supper up here," said the little girl. "He can get through locked doors. He has eaten the supper and has covered the tablecloth with footprints. He will do it again, too. Brownie cannot stand a dirty kitchen. You should do as our old cook did and put the supper things away at night. If I were you, I would not hook the cellar door tonight. I would just put out a bowl of sweet milk for Brownie. Then he will not come up here and put his footprints all over your tablecloth." "I will not," said the cook. "I told you I did not believe in brownies. I will not put out a bowl of sweet milk for something I never saw." Then the cook did not say anything for a time. She thought and thought. At last she thought that she had better put out the bowl of milk. So when night came, a bowl of sweet milk was back of the cellar door. The next morning, the milk was gone. "I think I do believe in brownies," said the cook. Now the cook put the supper things away every night. The white tablecloth was ever so clean. There were no black footprints on it anywhere. And every night when Brownie woke up, there was a bowl of milk back of the cellar door. Sometimes the cook put out a piece of cake for a party supper. Brownie played no more tricks on the cook or on the cat, and the big black cat was never scolded again. Join us next time for more adventures.